Daggerheart is out, and here at Wither and Bloom Studios, we are loving it. My name is Rich, and I am a core creator here on this channel at Wither and Bloom Studios, and a working actor / voice actor in my other life. I've played around 4 or 5 Daggerheart campaigns now, some very short, some very long, and one 15-hour marathon monster stream you can watch right here. But by far, my favorite part of Daggerheart is the character creation process. So, for our upcoming Daggerheart 3-shot, I decided to document the journey so you could all enjoy it with me. Hopefully you learned something about making characters from this. I really hope you do. Now, the fun part, let's get started. Class. If we're going in order of operation, dictated by the layout of the book, the first place to start is with a class. Previously, I have played a Nightwalker rogue, a Vengeance Guardian, and a Beastmaster Ranger, so now I'm looking to try my hand at some magic, baby. Let's see how it stacks up to the more martial classes. The 3 classes I am debating are the Wizard, the Druid, and the Sorcerer. The Wizard is interesting, because at its base level, you gain some nice defensive magic abilities, a new way to clear stress or gain hope, and a pet. Who the hell doesn't want a pet? The subclasses either offer you more spells and abilities than any other class with the Knowledge Wizard, and the highest damage and HP output with the War Wizard. All great options, but I don't think I want to go this way with our setting of Amakura, a seedy town on the coast that is full of secrets, danger, and political strife. Let's look at the Druid next. The Druid, at its base, offers an incredibly versatile feature in its beast form, which is basically the ability to transform into various beasts that all function differently for different scenarios. The subclasses, however, don't fit the setting either, with the Warden of the Elements focusing on harnessing the elements, like the Avatar, and Warden of Renewal focusing on healing. They're all great classes, but not really what I have in mind. I think the Sorcerer is where it's at, okay? The Sorcerer has the Arcana and Midnight domains that are both exceedingly powerful, but also offer a lot in realms of trickery and illusion, perfect for our setting. I love about Daggerheart that every class has access to a different combination of domains, basically spells and abilities. This ensures that no class feels too samey. The base Sorcerer also offers decent controls over their playstyle, with the damage rerolls, a powerful new way to gain hope or extra damage in a pinch, and a way to sense if any magic is nearby, like a nice magic radar. When it comes to subclasses, I can either choose from the Elemental subclass that offers expertise over one element of my choice and a bunch of applications for that element in combat and out. Not bad. Or I can go with the Primal subclass that offers 4 different ways to manipulate the spells at nary the cost of 1 stress. These are 2 really useful subclasses that both fit in the setting, but I'm not feeling like I want to control elements. I'm not feeling like the Avatar right now, so I'm thinking Primal's where it's at. All right, combined with the customization and domains from the base offerings of the Sorcerer, more customization of my spells on top of that seems ideal. Plus, adapting spells to whatever I may find in this inquisitive and dangerous city of Amakura sounds like the perfect fit. Primal Origin Sorcerer it is. Moving on to Ancestry. Ancestries in Daggerheart are so exciting because they all do very specific things very well. And mixing ancestries is super viable and fun because every ancestry only comes with 2 features. When mixing, you just pick one feature from one ancestry and the second one from another, and you can mix and match to build the perfect synergistic ancestry for your character. It's incredible. It's incredible. And then on top of that, you just flavor the look of your character to incorporate both ancestries. I have previously played a human, a ribbit, an orc, and a fairy, so it is safe to say I won't be playing them again. So that leaves Clank, Dracona, Dwarf, Elf, Faun, Furbolg, Fungrel, Galapa, Giant, Goblin, Halfling, Inferni, Katari, and Simia. Dracona, Dwarf, Elf, Faun, Furbolg, Giant, and Katari all offer almost strictly combat features, which is great and awesome, but not what I'm going for with this character and story. I think I want this character to be some sort of detective or sleuth that has a lot to do outside of combat, but whose tactics and damage output aren't too shabby either. I think playing a detective will really fit in the setting we are playing in. Now, I could go through every other ancestry and say why yes or why no, but the best option for a detective-like character is a Fungrel by 1 million with their 2 features. All right, lock in here and listen to this, because this is made to be a detective. The first being communicate with other Fungrels no matter the distance via the Fungrel network. You have a built-in walkie-talkie system wherever you go with other Fungrels. That's awesome. And their second one being the ability to touch a recently deceased corpse and extract a memory relating to a specific emotion or sensation. I mean, come on! That is perfect! The flavor this provides to my character is insane. That's my choice then, right? Not quite. Not quite. In Amakora, the city is too far from the Fungrel network to utilize the first feature I mentioned. So I think it's time to mix. Now, no, this is a homebrew world that we're going to be releasing later in the year as a whole campaign frame for Daggerheart. And the city that this one 3-shot is based in is a coastal city, far from the center hub of the Fungrel network in the continent. So I went looking through the rest of the ancestries and found a feature that caught my eye. Infernis have this feature called Fearless that allows them to change a roll with fear into a roll with hope at the cost of only 2 stress. That's nuts. It fits the flavor of a detective who has seen way too much and has become numb to it all. Trust me, I went on a ride along with a bunch of police officers. I know what it's like when you work on the force too long and see too much crap. I'm coining it Infungrel. Infungrel is my mixed ancestry. I am playing an Infungrel, half Inferni, half Fungrel. Moving on to community. Okay, so admittedly, this will not be as hard as the other decisions, with the setting being what it is and my character having grown up in this place. I think my 2 options are Slyborn and Underborn. The 2 are similar. The main difference is that Slyborn is like growing up in the slums, and Underborn means you grew up in the underground setting. I think lore-wise, having my Infungrel detective come from a Slyborn-like community where you had to scrape by and learn the ways of the criminal in order to survive adds a lot more flavor. Maybe he uses criminal talents and connections to make his way out of the slums and become a respectful member of the city's judicial system, gaining a better life for himself, but also gaining resentment from those he's left behind. The features that come along with these 2 communities are tough to choose between. Slyborn gets advantage on negotiating with criminals, detecting lies, and finding a safe place to hide, whilst the Underborn thrive in darkness. When they are in darkness, they gain the advantage on rolls to hide, investigate, and perceive details within that area. After reading the 2, I'm going to go with Slyborn, because the features directly help investigations. And the flavor the community offers really excites me as I wrote it down here. So I'm going with Slyborn. Slyborn it is. Moving on to the cards. Okay. So far, we have a primal origin in Fungrel from the underprivileged Slyborn community of Amakora. He adapted to his environment and even began to thrive there. However, The goal was always to find a way out, and he did so via becoming a detective. And nobody can blame him for that, or can they? Okay, Rich, don't get carried away. Save the backstory reveal for later. Now it's time to pick out the cards. One of my favorite things about Daggerheart is the way they have implemented deck building into TTRPGs. It combined my favorite parts of Magic the Gathering and D&D into one. Now, when I go through and pick the cards I want in my character's loadout, I imagine what would work for their playstyle. Yes, everyone does, but I also think about how they might have learned these spells and why. So, I'm gonna go through the cards and have a big reveal. And 1, 2, 3, reveal! Fungrel, Inferni, Primal Sorcerer, Slyborn, Uncanny Disguise, Rain of Blades, Floating Eye, and Shadowbind. Bam! Keep in mind we are starting this module at level 2. I don't know, after picking these spells, I'm starting to get like voodoo villain from The Princess and the Frog kind of vibes. I don't know, I'm getting inspired though, I'm getting inspired. Time for the sheet. I love making the character sheet last because it feels like ceremonious to me. Like I'm taking all of the previous information I've gathered about this character and putting it down in one central location, awakening this character and bringing them into a playable state. We're starting with a layer of black, leather-like gambeson armor, granting me a higher evasion score of 11 and a lower armor score of 3. My character is definitely going to be dodging shots and navigating the battlefield tactically rather than tanking. My thresholds are also 6 and 12, very middle of the road, nothing to say there. I have seen how easy and useful it is to up your thresholds rather than upping your evasion, but I'm hoping I'll find ways to up my evasion that aren't evident to me right now. I hope utilizing evasion is a viable build you can do in Daggerheart. I'm hoping to find that. My stats are as such: +3 instinct, +2 presence, +1 knowledge, +0 finesse, +0 agility, -1 strength. I arrange my stats this way to maximize my spell casting capabilities, but also to stay true to my detective backstory. I'm going to be favored in all of the skills a detective would, so it makes sense. My primary weapon is a hand rune, and the secondary is a whip. 2 things I can canonically make sense of my character using and keeping on him at all times. A whip is just as much of a tool as it is a weapon. My experiences are fun. I went with survival of the fittest, a manifestation of the adaptations he had to undergo in order to survive in the slums, detective, self-explanatory, and friends on the other side, to be explained, nod nod, wink wink, the fun part. Rook's first memory is a reflection of his younger self in a serene, Stillwater lake under the city of Amakora. The best part about this lake? He was the only one who knew it even existed, or was he? He found the lake almost as if by invitation. His home was beautiful. It was on the good side of town, too. One night, when his father was still out, probably performing some late-night duties at the docks, a stray cannonball came crashing through the window. The young boy pulled the covers over his head and took cover. Crash! The floorboards fly across the room and patter to the ground. And then, the faintest sound. A heavy object falling from a great distance. Splash. After Rook decided he was no longer in danger, he removed the covers from over his head and saw a glowing blue hole in the center of his room. He quickly scurried over and nearly shit himself when he saw the gigantic, cavernous Stillwater Lake below him. The lake was filled with what looked like glowing blue balls. Their light lit the whole cavern and showed that the lake was no more than 10 feet deep. Snap! The floor gave out beneath the boy, and he crashed into the lake below, providing much excitement to what has probably been a dormant lake for God knows how long. The boy sank into the water as he thrashed, too young to know how to swim, and too young to see his life flash before his eyes. As his tears mixed with the water engulfing him, his back came into contact with the aforementioned balls, and boom! He was back in his room. It was morning time, and the hole in the ground was non-existent. The sun is shining through the window, which is still intact, and the boy had a terrible headache as he recalls a dream. A dream where he stands over the precipice of a gigantic, secluded, subterranean lake, where he takes in his reflection. A boy with prepubescent horns, pitch black skin, glowing green eyes, and a barely grown mushroom cap atop his head. He's smiling. Smiling hard. Smiling too hard. And then the smile gets watered by the tears falling from his eyes. Then he says, as if to himself, "He's gone." Snap! The dream ends, and Rook comes back to reality. The boy stands in his room, terrified and now suspicious whether his father ever came home. That can't be the case. In hopes to prove this is nothing more than a silly dream, he ran to his father's room and found nothing. No sign he ever came home. And from that moment on, his life was different, broken into two separate chapters, before the dream and after. His life went downhill after that, as he found his new home across town, amongst the orphans and homeless, far from the cushy life he had been used to. In his despair and hopelessness, he found a helping, hairy hand. The local Simia crime family. They took him in, and they taught him their ways. He forged a new life amongst the scoundrels in the memory of his father and the other life that he left, passed in time, until his 21st birthday. He was celebrating in his usual spot when a new face dropped in. This person, young, human, dressed like he'd belonged here, but his alertness said otherwise. A few minutes later, the front door flew open and the pigs rushed in. This was a raid, and he was one of the targets, apparently. But this wasn't Rook's first run-in with the law, and he'd known he better keep his mouth shut if he wanted to get out of this quickly. And he did just that. The detective mentioned a couple of petty thefts and burglaries he alleged Rook was a part of, but Rook knew that he had no proof. And after about 30 minutes of questioning, the room fell silent. Dren, the young human detective, went quiet and just stared at Rook. Now, Rook thought this was a little abnormal, maybe a new tactic they're teaching at the academy. Then, the detective leans in and says that he has a lead on Rook's father's disappearance. And just like that, his life changed again. A new chapter revealed itself. It had been so long since the last chapter began, almost 15 years. He forgot things could change. Rook eventually began working with the detective in order to crack the case. However, it began taking too long, and the higher-ups wanted results, or they were going to shut down the case for good. in order to buy the two of them some more time, Rook made a choice. He heartbreakingly chose his father and peace of mind over his friends, and sold out every last member of the Simia gang family. This bought them unlimited time and a permanent spot on the force for Rook. Rook and Dren were free to chase this case to its very end. However, a price was put on Rook's head. Rook tried to meet with the Simia gang in prison, but they refused to even look at him. He was dead to the only family he could even remember. Why had he picked this ghost of a man who he doesn't even remember over his real family? He couldn't answer that question. When this Daggerheart 3 shop begins next month, Rook is still looking for answers, but he's hit a dead end. It's been months and months of them looking for clues, chasing leads, and finding nothing. He's having trouble sleeping due to the paranoia, knowing there's a hit out on his head. And as a result, he's been using Andira, a powerful street drug that gives the user powers. He's been using this drug to keep himself awake without the rest. It has been months since his last full night's sleep, and Rook is in the darkest place he's ever been. He's speaking to shadows. He says he's constantly being followed, and he's began carving runes into his hand. He appears okay to anyone who sees him at a glance, but to anyone who spends even a few hours with him, it becomes evident that this individual is suffering. And Dren knew that better than anyone. He couldn't watch his partner and now friend suffer any longer, and he opted to investigate the case separately, telling him he needs to take a step away because he can't stand to watch his partner lose himself any longer. All right, so that's my character. That's what they look like. That's their backstory. That's who they are. I love this so much, and I can't wait to play this character on July 1st. Now, this is going to be a 3-session campaign. And on the 3rd session, if you really enjoyed the campaign, you are going to be able to buy this module for Daggerheart. That is what we're starting to do here at Wither and Bloom. Every module and mini campaign we run on this channel is going to also be simultaneously available to buy during that last stream of that module/campaign. I really hope you guys tune in. We had a lot of people tune in during the 15-hour marathon stream we did, and it was so much fun. We gave away a copy of Daggerheart itself, of the core essentials, and a lucky member of our chat got that core essentials kit. So that was awesome. Please tune in. And if you learn anything from this video, I just want it to be that this is just how I make my characters. You don't have to make your characters like this, but I wanted to bring you guys through the journey of making this character with me from scratch. I literally figured out this backstory while I was writing it for you guys. This has been my favorite experience of making a character. I'm going to be doing with all my characters from now on. If this helped you in any way, please let me know down below. I'd love to hear about your characters, and please join our community. We make videos weekly, sometimes twice a week, and we stream at least twice a month. I hope you become part of this community. Thank you for hopping on this journey with me, and I will see you guys on July 1st. See ya.